Tarzan stood atop a towering tree, his sharp eyes scanning the lush green expanse of the jungle below. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming flowers, a melody of life that only the king of the jungle could fully appreciate. His ears twitched, catching the distant call of a hornbill, the rustle of leaves as a monkey swung from branch to branch, and the gentle hum of a nearby river. This was his kingdom, his home, where every creature lived in harmony, and he, Tarzan, was the protector of all. He leaped down from the tree, landing gracefully on the soft forest floor. As he walked, animals of all shapes and sizes greeted him. A young deer nuzzled his hand, a sign of trust earned through years of guardianship. Tarzan smiled, patting the deer before it scampered off into the underbrush. But today, there was something different in the air, a tension that had not been there before. The usual chorus of the jungle seemed subdued, as if the animals were holding their breath, waiting for something. Tarzan frowned, his instincts telling him to be on guard. He reached the edge of a clearing where Tantor, the old elephant, was drinking from a pool of water. The massive creature looked up as Tarzan approached, his wise eyes reflecting concern. "Tantor," Tarzan said, placing a hand on the elephant's side. "Have you felt it too? The unease?" Tantor rumbled softly, a deep, resonant sound that vibrated through the ground. The elephant nodded slowly, his trunk swinging in a deliberate motion. Tarzan's brow furrowed. If Tantor was worried, then something was definitely wrong. Tarzan moved deeper into the jungle, following a path only he knew. The lush greenery gave way to a denser, darker part of the forest, where the trees grew closer together and the sunlight barely penetrated the canopy. This was the heart of his domain, a place where few dared to venture. Here, the jungle spoke in whispers, and those who listened could hear its secrets. As he walked, Tarzan noticed that the animals were unusually quiet. The usual chatter of the monkeys was absent, and even the birds seemed reluctant to sing. Something was unsettling them, something that Tarzan needed to understand. He soon reached a large clearing where the jungle's council often gathered. It was a place where the leaders of different animal species came together to discuss matters of importance. Today, the council had been called unexpectedly, and Tarzan could see the tension in the eyes of his friends. Kayla, the motherly gorilla who had raised Tarzan, was the first to approach him. Her eyes were filled with concern as she embraced him. "Tarzan, something is amiss," Kayla said, her voice trembling slightly. "There are rumors spreading through the jungle, whispers of strange creatures moving in the shadows." Tarzan nodded, sensing the fear in her words. "I have felt it too, Kayla. The jungle is uneasy, and the animals are restless. We must find out what is causing this." The other members of the council began to gather around them. Tantor, the elephant, stood nearby, his massive frame providing a sense of security. Numa, the lion, paced back and forth, his golden mane bristling with agitation. The sleek black panther Bagheera watched from the shadows, her green eyes glowing with suspicion. "It's the humans," Bagheera hissed, her voice a low growl. "They have returned to our jungle, and they are not alone. They bring weapons and fire." Tarzan's heart sank at Bagheera's words. He had encountered humans before, some good and some bad, but those who brought weapons were always a threat. "We must act quickly," Tarzan said, his voice firm. "We cannot let them harm our home." Tarzan decided to scout the jungle alone, moving with the silence and speed of a shadow. His senses were heightened, every rustle of leaves and snap of a twig alerting him to possible danger. The jungle was his ally, its dense foliage providing cover as he navigated the terrain. As he approached the edge of the jungle, where the trees began to thin out and the underbrush gave way to open grasslands, Tarzan saw the first signs of human activity. The ground was disturbed, tracks left by heavy boots leading deeper into the forest. Nearby, a tree had been cut down, its trunk scarred by deep gashes from a saw. Tarzan knelt beside the tracks, his fingers brushing the earth. The tracks were fresh, no more than a day old. The humans were close, too close for comfort. He continued forward, the air growing thicker with the scent of smoke. It wasn't long before he spotted the source, a small campfire surrounded by several figures. They were dressed in rugged clothing, their faces obscured by hats and bandanas. Around them were tools and weapons, traps, rifles, and machetes, designed for one purpose: hunting. Tarzan's jaw tightened. These were not ordinary hunters. They were poachers, and from the looks of their equipment, they were well prepared for a long stay in the jungle. He watched as the men spoke in low voices, their words filled with greed and malice. They spoke of capturing animals, of skins and ivory, of profits to be made from the jungle's treasures, but there was something else, something more sinister that caught Tarzan's attention. One of the men, a tall figure with a scar running down his cheek, spoke of a prize they were after, something more valuable than any animal they had hunted before. Tarzan listened intently, his heart pounding in his chest. "We find the plant, we control the cure," the scarred man said, his voice filled with a dark ambition. "The world will pay anything for it." The other men nodded, their eyes gleaming with greed. Tarzan's blood ran cold. They were after something more than just the animals. They were after a mystical plant that he had only heard of in legends. A plant said to possess healing powers beyond imagination. He knew then that he had to act, but he couldn't do it alone. He needed his family, his animal allies, to protect the jungle and stop these men from finding the plant. Tarzan retreated into the safety of the jungle, moving swiftly through the trees until he reached the secret place where his family gathered. He found them waiting, their expressions tense but resolute. They had sensed the urgency in Tarzan's movements and knew that danger was close. "We have no time to lose," Tarzan said, his voice carrying the weight of responsibility. "The humans are here, and they are after something powerful. A plant that can cure any disease. If they find it, they will destroy our jungle to get to it." The animals exchanged worried glances. They knew of the plant, a rare and sacred treasure of the jungle. It was said to be hidden deep within the heart of the forest, protected by ancient forces that no human had ever encountered. But with modern technology and weapons, the poachers were a greater threat than ever before. "We must protect the plant," Tantor said, his deep voice filled with determination. "If they take it, they will bring ruin not only to the jungle but to the world beyond." Bagheera nodded, her eyes narrowing. "They will not find it if we stop them before they get close. We must use the jungle to our advantage." Tarzan outlined his plan, a strategy that relied on the unique abilities of each of his animal allies. Numa, the lion, would lead the charge, his fierce roar and powerful strength striking fear into the hearts of the poachers. Tantor would use his size and might to block the paths, preventing the humans from advancing. Bagheera, with her stealth and cunning, would strike from the shadows, picking off the poachers one by one. The monkeys, led by Cheetah, would disrupt their camp, stealing supplies and causing chaos. Tarzan would be the linchpin of the operation, using his knowledge of the jungle to guide his friends and outmaneuver the poachers. Together, they would create a web of confusion and fear, driving the invaders out before they could reach the plant. The animals agreed, their loyalty to Tarzan unwavering. They knew the risks, but they also knew that they had to protect their home, no matter the cost. As night fell, the jungle came alive with the sounds of preparation. The animals moved silently through the trees, taking their positions as they prepared for the battle ahead. The jungle itself seemed to sense the coming conflict, the air thick with anticipation. The poachers, unaware of the forces gathering against them, continued their work, setting traps and cutting paths through the underbrush. They laughed and joked, confident in their strength and numbers. But their confidence would soon be shattered. The first strike came from Numa, the lion. With a mighty roar, he charged into the camp, his golden mane a blur of motion. The poachers scrambled in panic, their weapons useless against the sheer power of the jungle's king. Numa's claws slashed through the air, tearing through tents and scattering supplies. Before the poachers could regroup, Tantor emerged from the trees, his massive form blocking their escape. He trumpeted loudly, the sound echoing through the night as he knocked over trees and smashed through the barriers the poachers had set up. His presence was overwhelming, a force of nature that no human could stand against. Bagheera struck from the shadows, her movements silent and deadly. One by one she took down the poachers, her sharp claws and teeth finding their mark. The men didn't know what hit them, their fear growing with each passing moment. Cheetah and his band of monkeys swung through the trees, their nimble hands grabbing weapons and supplies, tossing them into the river or burying them in the underbrush. The poachers' camp descended into chaos, their carefully laid plans unraveling before their eyes. Tarzan watched from above, his heart swelling with pride at the sight of his family fighting for their home. But he knew the battle was far from over. The poachers were determined, and their leader, the scarred man, was still focused on his goal. The scarred man barked orders at his men, trying to regain control of the situation. He knew that if they didn't find the plant soon, they would be forced to retreat. But he was not a man to give up easily. He had come too far, sacrificed too much, to let a bunch of animals stop him. He spotted Tarzan in the trees and his eyes narrowed with recognition. "It's him," he growled, "the wild man of the jungle. Take him down, and the rest will fall." Several poachers raised their rifles, aiming at Tarzan. But before they could fire, Tarzan leaped from the trees, moving with the grace and speed of a predator. He disarmed one man with a swift kick, sending the rifle flying into the underbrush. Another tried to grab him, but Tarzan twisted out of his grasp, using the man's momentum to throw him to the ground. The scarred man watched, his anger growing as his men fell one by one. He reached for his own weapon, a large revolver, and took aim at Tarzan. But before he could pull the trigger, a massive form loomed behind him. Tantor, sensing the danger, charged at the man, his tusks aimed straight for him. The scarred man turned just in time to see the elephant bearing down on him. He dove to the side, narrowly avoiding being trampled, but lost his gun in the process. Tarzan saw his chance and moved in, his muscles coiled and ready. He tackled the man, the two of them rolling across the ground in a fierce struggle. The man was strong, but Tarzan was stronger, his connection to the jungle giving him an edge that no human could match. The fight was brutal, each blow landing with bone-jarring force. The scarred man fought with a desperation born of greed and fear, but Tarzan fought with something more powerful, the love of his home and family. He could not, would not, let this man destroy everything he held dear. With a final surge of strength, Tarzan overpowered the man, pinning him to the ground. The scarred man glared up at him, his eyes filled with hatred. "You may have won this time, wild man," he spat, "but you can't protect this jungle forever. We will return, and when we do, we'll bring an army." Tarzan's expression was hard, his voice cold as he responded. "If you return, you will find nothing but your own doom. This jungle is not just my home, it is a living, breathing force that will defend itself. Leave now and never return." The scarred man sneered but knew he was defeated. With a bitter curse, he signaled his remaining men to retreat. The poachers gathered what they could and fled into the night, their plans in ruins. As dawn broke over the jungle, Tarzan and his animal family gathered in the clearing where the battle had taken place. The poachers were gone, driven out by the united forces of the jungle. The animals, though exhausted, were victorious, their home safe once more. Tarzan looked at his friends, pride swelling in his chest. They had fought bravely, each one playing a crucial role in the battle. He knew that without them the jungle might have fallen to the invaders. But there was still the matter of the mystical plant. Tarzan knew that as long as it remained in the jungle, it would be a target for those who sought to exploit its power. He had to ensure that it was protected, hidden away where no human could ever find it. Tantor, sensing Tarzan's thoughts, rumbled softly. "The plant must be moved, hidden in a place where it will be safe." Bagheera nodded in agreement. "There is a cave deep within the mountains, a place known only to the oldest among us. It is said to be protected by the spirits of the jungle. If we take the plant there, it will be safe." Tarzan considered this. The cave Bagheera spoke of was a place of legend, a sanctuary for the jungle's most sacred treasures. Few had ever seen it, and even fewer knew how to reach it. But if the plant was to be protected, it was the only option. "We will take it there," Tarzan decided. "The journey will be difficult, but it is the only way to ensure the plant's safety." The animals agreed, and together, they began the journey to the cave. The path was treacherous, leading through dense forests, across raging rivers, and up steep mountainsides. But Tarzan and his friends were determined, their resolve unwavering. As they neared the cave, the air grew thick with a strange energy, a sense of ancient power that seemed to emanate from the very earth itself. The entrance to the cave was hidden behind a waterfall, its entrance guarded by towering statues carved from the stone. Tarzan and his companions entered the cave, the sound of the waterfall echoing behind them. Inside, the air was cool and damp, the walls covered in moss and ancient carvings. The cave seemed to go on forever, its depths shrouded in darkness. At the very heart of the cave, they found a small, hidden chamber. In the center of the chamber was a stone pedestal, and on the pedestal was the mystical plant. Its leaves glowed with a soft, ethereal light, a testament to its power. Tarzan gently placed the plant on the pedestal, his heart filled with reverence. This was a place where the plant would be safe, protected by the spirits of the jungle and the ancient magic that flowed through the earth. "We have done what we came to do," Tarzan said, his voice echoing in the chamber. "The plant is safe and so is our home." The animals nodded, their expressions filled with relief and satisfaction. They had fought bravely and overcome great odds to protect their home. Now, with the plant hidden away, they could return to their lives knowing that the jungle was safe once more. With the plant safely hidden in the cave, Tarzan and his animal family made their way back to the heart of the jungle. The journey was long, but their spirits were high, buoyed by their victory and the knowledge that they had protected their home. As they traveled, the jungle seemed to come alive once more. The birds sang their songs, the monkeys chattered in the trees, and the rustle of leaves filled the air with a sense of peace. The unease that had hung over the jungle was gone, replaced by a sense of harmony and balance. When they reached their home, the animals gathered around Tarzan, their eyes filled with gratitude. They had fought side by side, each one playing a crucial role in the battle. They were not just a group of animals, they were a family, bound together by their love for the jungle and their commitment to protecting it. Tarzan looked at his friends, his heart swelling with pride. "We have faced great danger, but we have triumphed. The jungle is safe, thanks to all of you. We have shown that when we stand together, nothing can defeat us." The animals cheered, their voices echoing through the trees. They knew that they had done something truly remarkable, something that would be remembered for generations to come. As the sun set over the jungle, casting a warm golden light over the trees, Tarzan stood atop a hill, looking out over his kingdom. The jungle stretched out before him, vast and beautiful, a testament to the power of nature and the resilience of those who called it home. He knew that there would always be threats, that there would always be those who sought to exploit the jungle for their own gain. But he also knew that as long as he and his family stood together, they could face any challenge. Tarzan smiled, his heart filled with contentment. The jungle was his home, his family, and he would protect it with his life. No matter what dangers lay ahead, he was ready to face them, knowing that he was never alone. And so, as night fell over the jungle, Tarzan and his family settled down to rest, their hearts at peace. The jungle was safe, and so were they. And as long as they stood together, it always would be.